Hello and welcome to Ask the Expert. Today is the first of a new mini-series on alternate veteran crisis response options. As we know, approximately 1/3 of veterans have been arrested, and more than 50% of justice-impacted veterans report at least one mental health concern. Today, we will discuss ways in which we as providers and community members can help prevent veteran justice involvement and promote mental health care. We are joined by a subject matter expert who is at the forefront of alternate veteran crisis response options, Mr. Rodney Williams with the VA's Veteran Mental Evaluation Team, VMET. Rodney, I'm aware that VMET is a newly launched initiative. Why don't we start by you telling us how this came about and what's the purpose of the VMET team?
Okay, number one, thank you for having me. So the VMET team first came about in 2018 in Los Angeles County, California. Basically, it came about from officers that were from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department that were also veterans. They end up retiring from the local Sheriff's Department, end up working for the VA police, and they were already doing work with veterans. They were coming in contact with a lot of suicide, just a lot of contact with veterans. They saw the need was there. They end up working together back with their old department through the VA, and that's how VMET came about in 2018. Right now, currently, we have 7 current VMET teams across the United States. That's going to be in Fresno, California, Long Beach, California, here in Chicago, Jesse Brown VA, North Las Vegas, Columbus, Ohio, and Muskogee, Oklahoma. We have 3 other sites that are working on getting their VMET programs up and running, but that's where we currently are. The mission for VMET is to support veterans in crisis, to help to reduce veteran suicides, and also increase participation in mental health treatment. So veterans that were connected to the VA, we're trying to get them back reconnected with the VA. And veterans who have not been connected with the VA, we're connecting them with the VA so they can get the services that are available.
How do you find these veterans? The term crisis it seems to be implied throughout, and that you don't have a lot of time to find someone in a crisis. So walk me through how that plays out.
Okay. A lot of our referrals come from our internal customers, which would be psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, anybody that's on the veterans treatment team. So internally, that's where they would come from. Externally, it'll come from outside, law enforcement agencies, family members, friends. Anybody. You could see a veteran and meet a veteran and find they're in crisis, and you don't know exactly how to connect them to the VA. You can definitely reach out to VMET, and we can help get them connected.
Is this separate from the Veterans Crisis Line?
Actually, we get referrals from the Veterans Crisis Line as well. So
Okay.
if you want to dial 988, press 1.
Okay.
You can also let them know that you're aware of the VMET team and you would like for the veteran to be referred to us.
So, all right, let's say I call 988 and I say, Mr. John here is having a crisis. We're in south side of Chicago. What happens? Does a police officer come to my house? Do you come? Like, what's the sort of crisis response look like?
Okay, initially with 988, they'll reach out once it's established that they're a veteran. If you mention veteran, the crisis line is going to reach out to the nearest VA. It'll come in through our police dispatch, and they will in contact, gather information, and then transfer the call to the VMET team, or relay the information to us, and we'll get back in contact with the calling party.
Well, who's on the? I keep saying VMET team, but the T is team. So I had the VMET. What is that comprised of? Who are the professionals on the team?
Okay, VMET team is comprised of a VA police officer, which is trained in crisis intervention, hostage negotiation, and other de-escalation skills. as well as a licensed clinical social worker, which is the clinician of the team. And that's basically our team currently at this time. Now, we can also go out with 2 officers, but they have to have the necessary training to go out together.
All right. So what's your role? Are you the VA officer? You said there's two folks, but
Correct.
tell me who's physically ready.
Okay. I am the VA officer. I'm a criminal investigator with a background in mental health. I've had outside experience in the private sector working with juveniles and mental health, as well as for the VA, I've worked outpatient mental health as well when I took a stint away from VA police. So when I came back into police, I also started back training, and I was seeing the, building rapport with most of our veterans with severe mental illness, our so-called frequent flyers. And a lot of the veterans remember me from outpatient mental health. So it made it a little bit easier for me to, interact. I knew what to look for. It wasn't always that police response. Even though VA police work in the hospital, we are part of the treatment team because we work for the hospital.
Yeah, tell me more about that. This idea of a police officer really sounds like you're part of Chicago Police Department, but you said VA police officer. So what is that?
Correct. The VA police are at all VA owned and operated facilities. We are there to perform police functions, but when you're assigned to the VMET team, you're more so there for the clinical response and to make sure that the veteran gets the necessary treatment that they need. We're there to de-escalate the situations and to keep everyone safe.
I don't want to step on political fire coals here, but you have an extensive background in mental health. That has to be incredibly useful in what you're doing. So have you found that to be your experience too? Does that really set you apart?
It's been very helpful. It's been very helpful. To date, we have had 0 incidents where I've had to go hands-on with anyone. So everything has been verbal de-escalation by myself and my partner, Peter Sullivan, which is our licensed clinical social worker on the team. We work well together, and I appreciate the partner that I have. We understand each other. He is a veteran, so he understands our vets, and it works well together.
Can anyone contact the VMET if they know of a veteran in crisis?
Absolutely. We will take referrals from anyone, internally, externally, friends, family members, anyone that has any type of knowledge of a veteran in crisis. And what
would count as a crisis?
I'm glad you asked that question. Okay, crisis is 3 things that we look for. Someone who is suicidal or homicidal, someone who is unable to care for themselves, which means they're impaired to the point where they can't take care of daily living skills. Severe homelessness, things of that nature are considered a crisis. But we're looking at real-time things. So danger to self or others, unable to care for themselves. And these are things that we're looking for.
So imminent harm is
harm or risk.
The road.
Yes.
Got it. So what happens if I do, who makes, I guess, that determination of what is a crisis? If I call in, there's certainly fringe cases like suicide ideation versus suicidality. I'm probably err on the side of the caution, but hey, I know a vet who's sleeping in his car. He asked me not to call, but I'm worried about him, so I'm calling you now. How would you treat that? Would that be like a referral out, or would you be the point person?
Well, we would be the point person. Just, to make everyone aware, anytime you contact us for a referral, we are going to contact the local police in whatever jurisdiction that we go to, because they hold the primary jurisdiction. Even though we are working for the federal government, when it's not happening on federal grounds,
Mhm.
it falls in the jurisdiction of the local authorities. So we have to let them know that we're coming out and we conduct well-being checks. And it would be a well-being check initially to make contact and do the outreach. And from there, once we make contact with the veteran, we're currently assessing to see how we will move forward.
So I want to make 2 points or semi questions, because one, I don't want anyone to have any fear with contacting you, because you said, well, I have to contact the police. And so then oh, great, I just accidentally called the police on my buddy, and that's not what I want. But that's not what you mean. You mean,
No.
if I understand you correctly, we have to let them know that we're not interfering with their jurisdiction, and it's
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Good. So, and then the not to put down CPD, but the person who has extensive experience and qualifications is going to go talk to that vet, so it won't have to fall on the Chicago officer.
Well, for further clarification, I mean, we work hand in hand with the Chicago Police Crisis Intervention Team. We receive our training through Chicago Police Crisis Intervention Team, which works hand in hand with NAMI, and it's a different outcome when you work with officers that are specifically trained to handle these situations. We will confer with one another prior to any type of approach. Again, local law enforcement, they're there for scene safety, to make sure we're safe and to make sure that the veteran is safe as well. We will take the initial approach and speak to the veteran, but if we cannot de-escalate the situation, then we have to relinquish to the local authorities.
Okay, that makes sense. And then the question I had is, all right, so we made the referral with the example I described, buddy sleeping in the car. You come out, assess, do the wellness check. He's safe in the sense of no imminent harm. Okay. And therefore, what do you do then as your team? Do you make a referral to Jesse Brown? Do you bring him into Jesse Brown? What are the sort of next steps when this person's de-escalated, for lack of a better term?
Okay, and prior to that, let me go back and actually walk you through what we actually do. Once we receive the call for a veteran in crisis, and we will do a deep dive into the social worker will do a deep dive into the veteran's medical background. I will do a check into the criminal background if there is any. Whatever we gather, whatever pertinent information before we even go out, so we know who we're dealing with, if feasible, and we already have a plan before we even make it to the veteran. Okay. And back to the jurisdictional thing, we have to submit a request from, this goes all the way up to the top. It goes to Washington prior to us even going out, based on the jurisdictional issues that may arise. Again, I'm not really there for a police presence. I'm there to make sure the veteran gets care. Our team is there to make sure the veteran gets care. That is the paramount thing, and that is our goal, to make sure that the veteran receives the treatment that they need. So after approval, then we will respond out to the location. And right now we are covering Cook County. We've in northern Indiana. So we go outside of Cook County in Illinois, but we have been approved for 2 more teams. Another team for northern Indiana and another team for Chicago, because the calls are coming in and they're building up more and more. And that's a lot for 2 people just to handle. So once we arrive to the scene, we make contact with the veteran. Like I said, we're going to do an assessment. We're going to do a threat assessment as far as if they're homicidal, suicidal, things of that nature, to see what level of crisis they're really in at that time. If the veteran, through assessing the veteran is voluntarily wanting to come with us, we will transport to the nearest VA. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be Jesse Brown. But if Hines is going to be closer. If we're out in that area, we'll transport to Hines.
Okay.
Once we get the veteran into the hospital, we'll have him checked in, he or she into the emergency room for an assessment by the medical team and the mental health team. And we will stay with them every step of the way until they are being seen. After they are, whatever treatment or anything they get, we will follow up for a short period of time. That could be anywhere from 30 to 90 days. Then we will close out and we will reassess as needed.
Thank you. As always, I always end up with more questions as that goes. Okay. But here's the first one. You said it goes all the way up to Washington. So how does that happen quick? I mean, I hear it goes to Washington. I think, oh man, that's going to take months to get approval. But you're in a crisis. So how does that happen so fast?
So that's why our referrals, I don't know, most people on our flyers that we send out, it has what we're looking for as far as our referral process. And as long as we have all the pertinent information and we don't have to do a lot of calling back and forth, when the referral comes in, I'm already typing and sending stuff off. And it's just a matter of making sure everything is worded correctly. I mean, we can get a referral or approval back in 30 seconds, as quick as it takes for the approving official to read it.
That's great. No one's going to believe us. That is just amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. All right. Now, what about you said you want to know as much as you can about this person before you go out there, including the criminal background. Now, Safer Foundation, pretty much everybody we're working with has a criminal background or part of the diversion program. How much of an impact, if any, does that have on your response?
None. It just prepares us for, it just gives us information and prepares us for who we're going to be dealing with. As far as the criminal background goes, for us, again, even though I am a criminal investigator and police, I'm looking more so of the pattern of behavior and relating it back to a clinical response. So it's not going to be held against them. Our primary goal is to make sure that they get the necessary treatment they need. The only way that it will hinder them is if local police are already on scene and they have knowledge of something going on that is beyond our control.
Meaning like there's another criminal matter undergoing in progress.
Correct. And I'm speaking more so of a criminal matter where they've committed a crime where there's no other way than for them to be in police custody.
Yeah. That makes sense. What are your 30 and 90 day follow-ups like in the sort of, how do you know if you need to reassess post 90 days?
Well, usually we'll follow up after if a veteran has been admitted into the hospital and then they're discharged. We keep track of them. If we transport in, we'll keep track, and we'll wait till they get settled in. We'll go check in with them and do a reintroduction, because we know at that crisis time they're way up here and they may not remember even meeting us some of the times. And we'll just go in and see how they're looking at that time. We'll wait a few days to a week after discharge, start with a phone call, and usually that'll lead to a visit, a home visit, or wherever they're currently residing. We'll go out and just sit with them and have a conversation, conduct an assessment, and we'll follow as far as checking to see future appointments, if they meet those appointments, if they stay connected with the medical team, the mental health team, whoever else we have referred out to. If they're maintaining contact and everything looks like it's on the up and up, we'll start to pull back more and more, but we'll track them, up to 90 days just to make sure that they're staying engaged with the services. And if they look like they're starting to disengage, we'll re-engage them and try to get them on back in.
How much do you rely on external partners from the VA to help keep and maintain that engagement? I'm just like non-participation is always a challenge. So how's that work for you?
Well, relationship building is very huge for us. So once we make contact with external customers, we try to maintain that contact and keep that contact, because a lot of times they'll be a great source of information, and we help each other out hand in hand. Just as far as I can give an example, we have some veterans that have had issues at their places of residence, and a landlord may do the initial call to outside law enforcement, and they'll in return bring us in. But once we get that relationship with that landlord can call us directly and say, hey, this is what's going on with the veteran. I'm seeing an uptick again, or I'm seeing some change. Would you guys mind coming out and making contact? So it could be something as simple as that.
Relationships make the world go round.
They do.
It's amazing how important that is. Why is it necessary for justice-involved veterans or people who are working with justice-involved veterans to know about your services?
It's important because we have a different outlook, and we can educate a lot of people on the outside about how to deal with veterans, period, in the justice system, out of the justice system. Dealing with the veteran population is different, and if you are unaware of how to deal with veterans, it's going to be, a rough road for a lot of people. We minimize a lot of things, and a lot of things for us we look at are very simplistic, but for outside people, they may consider something a crisis that is really not that big of a crisis compared to how the veteran is viewing things. So we just want to be there to be that bridge, to make sure that everyone knows how to conduct themselves. The outside knows how to conduct themselves with veterans. Veterans know how to conduct themselves with external partners as well. And just being that impartial party sometimes it goes a long way in crisis situations.
I don't know if this happens, but in my mind, I'm envisioning you pulling people to the side and having these kind of one-off conversations, calming everybody down, and saying, hey, look, this is really, if we keep heating up the temperature here, this is going to be the outcome, and we want to avoid that.
Right. Yeah. It's happened. I mean, we've even gone into situations where we found that certain parties have not been, forthcoming with all the information, and we knew there was something else there. And, we're dealing with anybody with mental illness that's in a crisis. There is a stigma, and people that are not aware of your background may feel like, well, I can tell these gentlemen anything about, this individual. They don't know them personally. And we go into that, we go above and beyond and reading in between the lines and verifying a lot of the information that we receive from especially outside parties about our veterans that are so-called negative. And when we look into a lot of stuff, it really helps the situation versus it being handled by outside law enforcement or anyone else. We're able to be the veterans advocate and be that voice in a crisis situation, which calms things down tremendously.
Well, thank you. I don't know what else to say, but thank you. I mean, I can't imagine how invaluable this is for everybody, and especially for the veteran in that crisis. Is there anything else that you think the audience should know?
I would like the audience to know, if you have any questions, if you have any doubt about contacting us, contact us. That means you really need to reach out to us and give us the information and pass the information on. We'll assess, and we'll let you know if it meets our criteria. We're going to find a way to, and most instances of referrals to make it fit. We're going to find something to make it fit.
What's the best way is phone? And I have your emails I'm prepared to give out, but in a crisis, it seems like a phone call might be best. So what number should folks use?
Okay. In the phone call, you can call police dispatch at 312-569-6505. Again, that is 312-569-6505. Email, you can reach us at vmetchicago@va.gov. That is vmetchicago@va.gov. That is for referrals, official referrals. And if you have a personal question and you don't want to send an official referral initially, you can reach out to me at rodney.williams5@va.gov. That is rodney.williams5@va.gov. And you can reach my partner for any clinical questions or any other VMET questions.
I'm going to be messaging him now. He's going to be like, Rodney, why am I getting all these messages?
Okay. And that's going to be peter.sullivan@va.gov.
All right, Mr. Sullivan. There's 4 other Rodney Williams at the VA, huh?
Yes.
That's fun. Well, thank you, Mr. Williams. Rodney, I believe what I'm hearing from you is today's big sort of takeaway is if you have any doubt, contact you guys. You'll sort it out from there and Absolutely. Make sure that the veteran's in a good path moving forward. So thank you. And as I'll reiterate it because it's so important. If you have more questions, definitely send an email to rodney.williams5@va.gov. Make referrals at VMET@va.gov.
Correct.
And this has been Ask an Expert. I'm Zach Hunsinger, and we'll see you next time as we continue our exploration of transformative topics. Stay informed and stay engaged.
Thank you.